Test audio, check 1 2. Testing audio, check 1 2.
Hi, Councillor Santos. Can we test your mic?
Testing 1, 2, 3. Can you hear me okay?
You're coming through faint.
Okay, how's that now? No? Testing 1, 2, 3.
Thank you. We can hear you.
अवाच्यवादांश्च बहून् वतिष्यन्ति तवाहिताः.
Thank you very much, Suresh. We can hear you. If you can turn your microphone off, that'd be great. Welcome, everybody, to the Monday, December 1st, 7 p.m. meeting. We're good to go? I will now enter roll call. Deputy Mayor Singh.
Present.
Councillor Santos.
Present.
Councillor Brar. Present. Councillor Vicente. Present. Councillor Keenan. Present. Councillor Medeiros.
Present.
Councillor Fortini. Councillor Tour. Councillor Tour? Do we not have any? I don't see him yet. Okay, so he might jump in later. Councillor Power. Present. And the mayor will not be attending tonight's planning meeting. We have the call to order. Any additions, deletions, changes that any members would like to make at the approval of the agenda? Seeing none. Madam Clerk, do we have anything that wasn't posted and needs to be added to the agenda?
Through you, Chair, everything was, revised agenda was published late this afternoon. There's been no new items since.
Perfect, okay. Consent motion. Declaration of conflict of interest. Any members like to declare a conflict of interest on anything on the agenda here today? Seeing none. The consent agenda. There is a few items. 6.4, the application to amend the official plan zoning bylaw, draft plan of subdivision, the secondary plan 47, landowners group Gold Park Development, Inc., Andrew and Luigi Vescio, Rendeep Chadha, 2512741, Ontario, Inc., 10517 Clarkway, Inc., and 695218, Ontario Limited, 2631297, Ontario, Inc., Glenn Schnarr and Associates, purpose to permit development of a community park, private industrial lands, and future public roads. Sorry, Madam Clerk, is that the public meeting? Those are public items. We have 8.1 is the staff report by Fernanda Duert Pexoto Soares, Project Manager, Active Transportation, regarding response to request to remove sidewalks on Gold Bottom Crescent, Ward 10, and Arnold Circle, Ward 6. There's also correspondence. That is in consent. 8.2 is the staff report from Carolyn Crozier, Strategic Leader, Project Management, and Andrew Ramsamy, Planner Development Services, regarding the amendment to the Schedule A and tariff of fees bylaw with respect to planning and other municipal applications. Consent. 9.1 is the Brampton Heritage Board minutes. Consent. 11.1 is held for delegations. 7.1, the application to amend the official plan and zoning bylaw. I don't have any. Okay, we're just going to do 8.1, 8.2, and 9.1 for consent. Moved by Councillor Power. All in favor? That carries. So now I'll go through, that was just little formalities. Now I'll go through some of the public items that are on the docket here tonight. If you would not like to hear a presentation on some of the items, then we'll skip it. But if there is anybody that would like to hear a presentation on some of the items that I'm about to call out, just put your hand up, and then I'll know that that we're going to hear the presentation. So our first item is statutory public meeting, city initiated report, application to amend the official plan and zoning bylaw application to propose amendments to the official plan and zoning bylaw to implement inclusionary zoning. Location within the city's approved 14 projected major transit station areas. This is across the city, and this is a city initiated report. Is anybody here tonight that want to hear a staff presentation on this item? And I'll read it out one more time. It's an application to amend the official plan and zoning bylaw. And the purpose is for the amendments to the official plan zoning bylaw to implement inclusionary zoning within the City of Brampton's approved 14 projected major transit station areas. Anybody in attendance? Yes. We'll hold that item. Our next item is city-initiated report application to amend the official plan to change the downtown special policy area SP73C designation, the subject lands to enable development approvals. Location, Center for Innovation at 1, 11, 12, 17, and 21 Nelson Street West, 20 and 24 George Street North, and 2 Diplock Lane, and Heritage Theater and Southern Blocks at 30, 36, 38, 40, 42, 46, 48, 52, 54, 60, 64, 70, 72, 74, 76, 80, 82, and 86 Main Street North. Anybody in attendance that'd like to hear the presentation on this item? And again, that's to change the downtown special policy area designation from the subject lands to enable development approvals. That item is adjourned. Next item is Turnberry Golf Course. I think there's some people that are here. Oh, okay, a few of them. Yep. Oh, all right. We have a number of delegations and correspondence. We have, our next item is the application to amend the official plan and zoning bylaw, draft plan of subdivision, secondary plan, 47 landowners group, Gold Park Developments, Inc., Andrew and Luigi Vescio, Randeep Chadha, 2512741 Ontario, Inc., 10517 Clarkway, Inc., and 695218 Ontario Limited, 2631297 Ontario, Inc., in care of Glenn Schnarr and Associates. The purpose to permit the development of a community park, private industrial lands, and future public roads. The location is 10491, 10517, and 10411 Clarkway Drive, Ward 10. Anybody here? Somebody's here? Okay. Our next item is the application to amend the official plan. And we have delegations on that item. Correspondence and then into, okay. So now we will get into the statutory public meetings. So for the next 4 items, there's statutory public meetings. And some of these are not initiated by the city. This one does happen to be initiated by the city. But these are the opportunity for staff to come down, present on this application, and they're for public only. They're for this is your opportunity to hear what is happening either by an applicant or by the city if it's a city-initiated public meeting. I will not allow any member of the planning committee, councillors, to speak on any items. It's not their place to speak on this item at this time because these items are only here tonight for you and you only. Then there's an opportunity for you to come and ask questions at the public question period. So you can come down and ask any questions that you want. Those questions will be recorded. And if we're not able to answer them now, typically we will get back to you. Anybody that comes down and delegates tonight will receive a personal phone call from Mr. Alan Parsons to let them know that that application, that report is coming back to planning, and it'll answer your question. They'll provide you a copy with the report and let you know when it's coming back to planning for us to then debate on the issue. Okay? The other thing is that we have staff that are going to come down. They're going to present. They've done it a few times. Sometimes, a lot of the times we have residents that come down and they haven't spoken in public before. So this is my time to ask each and every one of you to take out your phones and put it on an inaudible mode so that it doesn't disrupt anybody. If you forget to do that, as I'm asking you to do it, and it goes off, I'm going to give you an evil look. But if it goes off again, I'm going to ask you to leave. There won't be any disruptions while our residents are coming down and asking any questions. I won't allow for that. There'll be lots of time for everybody to come down and ask questions if they wish and to have the conversation. You can also, if you don't feel like coming down and asking questions, you can always email Alan. Alan, put up your hand. I will give out Alan's personal home email address for everybody to email them, and you can always email your counselors. Everybody's good? With that, let us begin. And Morella, come on down. You're this side, Morella. You haven't been up here in a while. Welcome.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, Chair of Planning Committee members and staff and members of the public. My name is Morella. I am an advisor of special projects with the Department of Planning, Building, and Growth Management. And I'm here in the project lead of inclusionary zoning. So this evening, the purpose of this evening's public meeting is to present the information regarding inclusionary zoning and provide that information to the public and seek your input and feedback as we move forward with the amendments. And these inclusionary zoning amendments will apply for official plan amendments and zoning bylaw amendments within the protected major transit stations areas of the city. Next slide, please. This slide illustrates the 14 areas where the inclusionary zoning amendments would apply. The majority of them will be along the Queen Street corridor. That will be between Main Street and Bramley Road, illustrated there. Next slide, please. What is inclusionary zoning? The Ontario Regulation 232/18 sets out legislative regulatory requirements for municipalities to implement policies that promote affordable housing by allowing municipalities under the Planning Act to adopt policies through the official plan and zoning bylaws that are related to inclusionary zoning. These policies allow municipalities to mandate a certain percentage of new and redevelopment of residential development of 10 units or more to require a certain percentage for affordable housing units that are targeting moderate income households within the city and that are within the protected major transit station areas that have been identified in the previous slide. Next slide, please. This slide indicates where the moderate income households would fall under inclusionary zoning. So they fall within the category of the affordable housing, which is non-subsidized. And that's what the program is targeting. Anything that is subsidized is offered, the Peel region offers programs and supports for subsidized housing that fall within that housing continuum that is shown to, right now to your left when you're facing the screen. Next slide, please. I'll just provide you a little bit of a project overview of the inclusionary zoning work that the policy team staff had undertaken since the adoption of that OREG 232/18. In Q1 of 2020, the Region of Peel collaborated with the local municipalities, which included Brampton, Caledon, and Mississauga, to undertake an assessment report for inclusionary zoning, and that was completed by the consultant firm of N. Barry Lyons Consultants. In August of 2021, the city had hosted 2 information sessions. Those sessions are available on the project webpage, which will be indicated on the last slide of this presentation for you to view. In December of 2021, that study was completed by the region's consultant, and a peer review was undertaken by Urban Metrics, according to the OREG 232/18, which was required as a peer review of their work. There was a council workshop that was held in February of 2022 that was hosted by the city to actually outline the framework of the inclusionary zoning policy work. In Q1 of 2023, this work was paused by city staff following the passing of Bill 23, More Homes Built Faster's Act. Next slide, please. This work was now relaunched in Q4 of 2024 to develop the IZ policy framework. As part of that work, the city retained the consulting services of Urban Metrics in Q2 of 2025, and that was to assess the report that was completed and update the feasibility analysis that was completed by MBLC in 2021. As that work was being undertaken by the consultant firm of Urban Metrics, the province amended OREG 232.18 to establish a cap rate of 5% for the number of inclusionary affordable units to be set aside for affordability period of 25 years. There was also a third public consultation that occurred at the end of September of this year, and we also consulted with the BUILD Peel Forum back in October, the end of October of 2025. Now we're here today at the public meeting point to review the inclusionary zoning bylaw amendments. Next slide, please. Urban Metrics, as I mentioned, had conducted an updated feasibility analysis. As part of their market conditions, they used the residual land value analysis to inform the inclusionary zoning set-aside rates and along with the timing of the implementation of this work for the city. Based on the residual land value analysis, they found that the current conditions for high-rise residential developments are challenged due to high construction costs, and that the high-rise development scenario would not be viable even without the IZ zoning requirements in place. The report recommended that city staff consider delaying the implementation of inclusionary zoning or enacting the IZ policies, inclusionary zoning policies, but starting the set-aside rates at 0% with a proposed prolonged phased-in approach. So staff are this evening proposing the phased-in approach to allow us to respond more quickly to market conditions as they improve. They also recommended not setting a minimum unit size requirement and requiring units to be compatible to market rate units. Off-site units and cash in lieu options to be considered carefully, including capacities and the administration portion of these policies. Next slide, please. Now, the next few slides will just outline the elements of the proposed inclusionary zoning bylaw that is being proposed this evening. As shown in slide number 1, again, these will be applicable in the 14 major transit station areas that were identified on the first slide, the majority being along the Queen Street corridor, as mentioned. It'll be for proposed developments and redevelopments of residential uses that are 50 units or more. We'll be proceeding with ownership and rental units within the condominium development. The affordability period will be for a period of 25 years, as outlined in OREG 5425. There will also be the maximum cap of 5% set-aside rate, as per those regulations. There will be a 2-year transition period, as noted from the consultant report, that in 2026 and 2027, the set-aside rates will be 0%. And then they'll be implemented in January of 2028. That's when the program, the set-aside rate requirements will be required, unless the market conditions do not change. And that they'll be targeting moderate income households, as mentioned previously. Next slide, please. These will be the following uses that will be exempted within the major transit station areas that IZ requirements will not be applicable to. Supportive residential housing and lodging houses, residential care homes or retirement communities, community housing, special needs housing, single room occupancies, any projects by the Region of Peel in terms of their housing corporation, buildings operated by nonprofit corporations, purpose-built rental, and any applications that are received for bylaw amendment and site plan approval that are deemed complete by the city or building permit that are received prior to December 31st, 2027. Next slide, please. This chart here illustrates the set-aside rates Again, as noted previously, we will doing a phased-in approach. So in 2026 and 2027, there will be a 0% requirement for inclusionary zoning units, affordable units, within developments, within the MTSAs. These will then ramp up in 2028. The majority of them will be at 1%. The ones that are highlighted in gray before them will be starting at 2%. And those are identified as the city's urban centers, which are expected to have a higher residential concentrations and mixed uses that are coming within those areas. And they will cap out at 5% in 2030, and the remaining will cap out at 3% till 2030. And then the program will continue on and be reviewed by staff at that time in terms of percentages. Next slide, please. This shows you an example of a development if it were to come in 2028 within one MTSA. So this is identified the gray areas of an urban center. So if staff received this application in January of 2028, and the proposed development has 1,238 units, the set-aside rate would be starting, because it's identified as an urban center, at 2%. And that requirement would require the developer applicant to provide 25 affordable units within that development, and then 1213 would be at market price. And preferably, it would be, if it's a multi-number of buildings, that each building would have its adequate number of affordable units to support the mixed-use incomes community. Next slide, please. This slide actually outlines the stages of the proposed implementation when it does come into effect. So as mentioned, the city would receive an application from the applicant in 2028, and then staff would work with the developer or applicant to discuss the set-aside rates for inclusionary zoning and the requirements at that time. There will be an option delivery of the units, either be required a building permit, initial building permit issuance, and it would also be determined at that stage whether they will be the rental option or ownership option under condominium tendership. There will also be legal agreements executed with the applicant to provide the units when the building is constructed. Marketing of the units, the city will work with the applicant developer to coordinate with the region of Peel to target moderate income households. And there will also be a monitoring of the units over the length of the program of 25 years. There will not be any short-term or long-term rentals permitted within those affordable units. And the city will work with the homeowner or tenant to ensure the dwelling is occupied and the conditions of the legal agreements of the IZ program are being met. If there is a sale of an ownership unit during the 25 years, a portion of the net proceeds from the sale of the unit will come back to the city and be invested back into the affordable housing program. Next slide, please. So this evening, we're at the public meeting stage. We provided notification of this public meeting back in November. We're here to collect any public input and feedback regarding the proposed recommendations for these amendments to the official plan and the zoning bylaw. Once we receive those comments this evening, we'll take those comments away and then introduce them and implement them into consideration for the recommendation report and the adoption of the inclusionary zoning policies within the city's major transit station areas. Once these policies are adopted, there's no timeline for appeal. There's no appeals regarding, according to the Planning Act, regarding IZ policies, according to Planning Act Section 1724.1.2. Next slide, please. So the report associated with this presentation is available online. Up on the screen, there is our contact information along with the project webpage for you to view at your own leisure. And as well, if there are any comments, you can submit them through that email noted there at housing@brampton.ca. And that concludes my presentation this evening. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Marilla. So now I'll open it up to the floor. If anybody would like to come down and ask any questions, we have a little bit of time to allow for that. Each delegation gets 5 minutes. Sorry, and if anybody else wants to come down, they can come down and stand in a line. Please.
Hello, my name is Sylvia Roberts. I'm a resident of Ward 3. I have been following this project since it was beginning at the region and the studies. And the problem is sometimes the rules allow you to do something, and that does not mean it is a good idea to do something. Inclusionary zoning is exactly one of those things. So to use a somewhat different analogy, imagine you own a bus system, which Brampton does, and you decide, well, bus passes are too expensive as a percent of income. So what we're going to do is we're going to raise the price of the bus fare, and then we're going to use that to subsidize fares for people who can't afford bus fares. The catch is, if you do that, the amount of people who you'd consider overburdened in transportation costs goes up faster than the amount of subsidized pass you can get out. In life, there are no free lunches, and the inclusionary zoning is an attempt by municipalities to get a free lunch. So what happens is, in systems where the city offers a financial amount and financial incentives, this can deliver units affordable relatively easily. When the city is not doing that, in cases such as this, the way it gets paid for is all of the other units in the building have to pay for it. This means that the more expensive, the bigger the difference between what someone can afford in the units, the bigger the amount you're adding to every unit. So imagine if you decide cars are too expensive. Cars in Canada are now $60,000 for a new car. And so you say, Toyota, I want you to sell cars for $20,000. You get to sell 5% of your cars for $20,000 a year, for $20,000. And so what happens is, this is funded by increasing the price of the other new cars. There's one problem, because most of the supply is not new things, but old things. If you increase the cost of new things, it means there's less new things, and suddenly all of the price of the old things goes up. If you remember early in the pandemic, there was a serious shortage of the ability to build vehicles because of supply chains, and used car prices skyrocketed. I heard of cases of people buying cars and selling a used car for more than what they paid for it 5 years ago. And so the idea here is we're going to raise the price of new units to make new units cheaper, but the reality is the vast majority of people live in existing units. So my family bought a used townhouse, and it was much below what a new building would cost, and it required a bit of work, and we fixed it up. And so we got a house, which is perfectly suitable for a family to live in. It is a 4-bedroom unit, and got the permits for the work on it from the city, and it was very useful to get help from the city on some of the stuff because a lot of it was doing ourselves. So why are we assuming that it necessarily has to be new buildings that have to be coming up with the affordable housing? If the city wants to work with the region to purchase properties and redevelop them and partner with the region and say, hey, we come up with the land and we want to build some affordable housing in Brampton, that is a pretty reasonable idea. But if you try to get free lunches, what many cities in the US have found is you actually crash the supply of stuff. The reason why there's that 5% cap is in the US, a lot of cities say, we're just going to keep ratcheting up. And the problem is, the higher the percentage you get, that means fewer units are paying a bigger amount. So it's like, well, and you look at it and say, well, we are building all of these affordable units. So in Toronto, like, well, most of the new buildings are affordable housing stuff. And you look at it, and the reason for that is because the housing market has just crashed and there's not much else being built. Inclusionary zoning, as it exists under the rules in Ontario, is a bad idea, and it's very difficult to find a place that makes sense. In some places they use bonusing, so we'll give you an extra height limit in order to do that. But then there's a question of, okay, so if we're increasing the height limit to make it make sense, was that height always perfectly reasonable? In which case, why wasn't it that already? And if it's not, then why are we increasing the height limit to something that is unreasonable? Inclusionary zoning does not really work, and I strongly recommend that City Council chooses not to implement it because the costs do not outweigh the benefits. Thank you. That's my delegation.
Thanks, sir. Anybody else like to come down, ask any questions? If if anybody else would like to come down, you can come on down and please state your name for the record and then sign the book in the back.
Sure. Hi there. Thank you, through you, Chair. My name's Kathleen McDermott. I live in Ward 3. I was also participating in the public call that was about this project a few months ago. I know Sylvia was on that call, and a lot of us, I think, on that call indicated that this isn't something that we support. I think there's so many loopholes. I had asked on the call at the time, what happens when somebody sells their unit, because it wasn't presented at the time. I think that there was going to be some designated rental units, and then, so there was no answer at the time, I believe, if I recall correctly. So even now, administering this project, I think is money well wasted. The loopholes that I think that are going to be created as a result of this program, we live in the fine city of Brampton, and loopholes will be found. That's what happens here. And I think that we're just opening the door for more people to take advantage of something that is not going to reach the people that actually need it. I think the study was likely done at a time when market values were super high. Now you see houses reselling for $300,000-$400,000 under what they are. So if I bought a unit in a 50-unit dwelling and someone else is subsidized and I'm paying market value, I don't see how a moderate income person needs to have that subsidy within and on my back as well. So exactly what Sylvia is saying, sorry. And I think the market needs to flush itself out. I don't think that we should be subsidizing this at all in administering the program. I don't think it's money well spent at all.
Thank you very much for your delegation. Nobody else? Anybody else like to come and delegate? We know where you live, it's fine. No, we're good? Okay. Move receipt, Councillor Brar, move receipt of the city initiated report and public meeting. All in favor? That carries. Our next item is 6.2. Okay. Wasn't 6.2 up there? No, that was the other one. Okay, my apology. All right, 6.3. Application to amend the official plan and zoning bylaw and draft plan of subdivision. The applicant is Verdon Flyer Inc. and York Major Holdings, KLM Planning Partners. We have Aphrodite. I'm not going to be able to say your last name. Aphrodite is not here. Dita. Oh, that's why we always call you Dita. I'm sorry.
That's all right.
Thanks, Dita. Dita, can you say your last name for me?
Jefferowska.
That's what I was going to say. Thanks, Dita. Go ahead.
It's a troubling last name. Alrighty. Good evening, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee, members of the public, and city colleagues. My name is Aphrodita Jefferowska. I'm the planner assigned to process and review the subject application. The purpose of this public meeting is to provide information to the public and seek feedback on the application filed by KLM Planning on behalf of Verdon Flyer Inc. and York Major Holdings Inc. to permit the development of 4 mid- and high-rise residential towers, 4 commercial buildings, a public park, and a stormwater management pond. This proposal also includes the retention of the Turnberry Golf Course. Next slide, please. It's correct. No, it's correct. Perfect. The subject property is located in Ward 2 at 10100 Heart Lake Road, and the site is located north of Bovair Drive East and west of Heart Lake Road. Next slide, please. This slide shows an overview of the subject site and surrounding land uses. To the north is White Spruce Park and city recreation and public parklands. To the south is Bovair Drive East, beyond which are low-density detached dwellings. To the east is Heart Lake Road, beyond which are commercial lands consisting of Arona and existing townhouse dwellings. And to the west is Moorhead Park, a daycare, street towns, and single detached dwellings. Next slide, please. This is an aerial view of the subject property and surrounding area. Next slide, please. This slide displays photos from a site visit that was conducted earlier in November of this year. Next slide, please. The applicant has submitted an application to amend the official plan and zoning bylaw and for a draft plan of subdivision in order to facilitate the development of 4 mid and high-rise residential towers ranging from 8 to 29 stories in height, 4 commercial buildings, a public park, a stormwater management pond, a multi-use trail, and a new public road and associated driveway, as well as a private road network. A new proposed signalized intersection and driveway access on Heart Lake Road and a new restricted access from Bovair Drive is also proposed. This proposal also includes the retention of Turnberry Golf Course. Next slide, please. The residential component of this development proposal, located at the southwest portion of the site, seeks to permit the development of 945 residential units across 4 towers with heights of 8, 22, and 29 stories. A total of 1,087 residential parking spaces are proposed along with indoor and outdoor amenity area. Next slide, please. The commercial block of this development proposal, located at the northerly portion of the site, seeks to permit the development of 4 commercial buildings with a total of 11,320 meters squared of combined commercial gross floor area. Further details include 475 parking spaces, 16 barrier-free parking spaces, 4 loading spaces, and 18 bicycle parking spaces. Next slide, please. Prior to finalizing recommendations to council, this application will be further evaluated for consistency with compliance with the Planning Act, consistency with provincial planning statement, and conformity with the growth plan, conformity with the City of Brampton official plan, and the Snellgrove Heart Lake secondary plan. Next slide, please. The subject lands are designated residential on Schedule A in the City of Brampton official plan, which permits a full range of residential and retail uses, along with dwelling types ranging from single detached houses to high-rise apartments. An amendment to Schedule A of the official plan is not required. Next slide, please. The subject site is designated as community areas and corridors within Schedule 1A city structure and neighborhoods on Schedule 2 designations of the Brampton plan. An amendment to Schedule 1A and Schedule 2 of the Brampton plan is not required. Next slide, please. The subject lands are located within the Snellgrove Heart Lake secondary plan area and are designated as private commercial recreation. An amendment to the secondary plan is required to facilitate the proposed development. Next slide, please. The subject lands are currently zoned Recreation Commercial Section 1029. Permitted uses of this zone include a golf course, a driving range, and purposes accessory to other permitted purposes. An amendment to the zoning bylaw is required. Next slide, please. The applicant is proposing to amend the zoning bylaw from the current zone to Residential Apartment A, which permits multiple residential dwellings, apartment dwellings, accessory uses, and Commercial 3, which permits retail establishments, dining room restaurants, convenience restaurants, takeout restaurants, and shopping centers, as well as open space, which permits recreation facilities operated or leased from a public authority, conservation areas, uses accessory to permitted indoor or outdoor recreation facilities such as a lounge or restaurant, and other accessory purposes. Additional site-specific permissions are included for building height, tower separation, and parking. Next slide, please. This slide outlines key issues and considerations that staff have reviewed as it relates to the proposal, including the compatibility of the proposed built form with the surrounding low-rise residential area, including height, tower separation, and setbacks, traffic impacts related to increased vehicle trips and the appropriateness of access locations, as well as the need for a controlled intersection, potential construction-related impacts to nearby residents such as noise and dust, and open space considerations, including the retention of the Turnberry Golf Course and the dedication of a new public park. These issues, along with others that are raised today, will be addressed in a future recommendation report. Next slide, please. Staff is hosting a public meeting this evening to share information of the proposed development application on the subject site and provide an opportunity for members of the public to express comments, perspectives, and opinions. Staff will advance a final recommendation report for council's decision in the future based on the details of the proposed development and applicable planning laws and policies while incorporating comments and consideration from yourselves, technical reviewers, and other stakeholders. Staff will also follow up with members of the public and other stakeholders who have spoken, written, or advised of an interest in monitoring this proposal. Next slide, please. For more information on the development proposal, the applicant's submission materials and supporting studies are publicly accessible through City's Grand Plan online portal. You may type the file number of the application in the required field, which in this case is OZS 2025-0043. This will then bring up the file page where by clicking the File Info tab, you will be allowed to view all drawings and documents associated with the development application. Next slide, please. This public meeting presentation will be available online as part of the Planning and Development Committee meeting minutes shortly after, and the final recommendation report will be posted on the city's PDC meeting agenda in advance of a future meeting. For any questions or comments about this application, please feel free to contact myself. My contact information is shown on the screen, if you want to take a moment. Next slide, please. And that is all. Thank you. Thank you for your turnout and have a great evening.
Thank you, Aphrodite. Wow, applause, very nice. So now is an opportunity to have the public come down, ask any questions that relates to this item. If anybody would like to come down, please come on down. We'll ask the line to form here. And for the first person, I'll ask for you to state your name for the record and then sign after your delegation, sign your name in the book. Anybody else like to come down and delegate? Please come on down and sign, put your name in the book. We have registered. Michael O'Neill, sorry, is my, Mr. O'Neill, come on up. And then Suresh is next, Mandeep is after that, Paul Ortiz, Marcello, and then Ryan Mino, Leon. Michael, please.
Thank you. And thank you, Mr. Paleshi, Planning Committee, Mrs. Bra. Pleasure to be here. First, start off with this thing, there's absolutely nothing good to say about that proposal that's up there. So my name, as he already said, is Mike O'Neill. I'm speaking on behalf of the part of the Cheviot Neighborhood Community Association. We got some residents online watching this and some people from the Toba Crescent Association and Leo O'Brien's group, the Heart Late Happenings. And they were responsible for the 466 name petition that you got sent to you today. So we're here to state our firm and unequivocal opposition to application 0ZS 2025-0043. You got to deny it in its entirety. The scale of the development is completely incompatible with our established single-family community. 4 towers between 8 and 29 stories with 395 or 45 units jammed beside a stable low-rise neighborhood represents an extreme density shock. It would permanently and irreversibly damage the character, privacy, and livability of our neighborhood, not the developers, of course. The neighborhood cannot absorb a development of this magnitude. We're already struggling with congested roads. Beauvert and Highway 410 are a crawl every day. If you ever drive it, you can't get anywhere. This isn't going to help matters. Emergency services are already overworked. The hospital is overcrowded. So you want to put another 2,000 residents at this intersection. It's irresponsible and it's unsustainable. The application contradicts decades of planning expectations and commitments. When I bought my house, the land was going to be a proposed water park. And suddenly, after 3 years of gravel trucks, it became a golf course. I mean, so we don't even know what it's going to be like in 5 years anyway. These guys can change their minds again. So now flipping this land to high-rise towers it's all about corporate greed and nothing to do with improving our community. York Major Holdings owns the 235-acre golf course in Maple, Eagle's Nest. It's a championship property, but they're redeveloping it with the Muso Group. And there, on their 235 acres, they're only going to put up 2 towers of 563 units. It's a huge site. But here at Turnberry, there's just 85 acres, and they want to build nearly double the density into 1/3 of the space. That contrast isn't subtle. Why is the most intense, most aggressive, densest proposal aimed at Heart Lake, a community of just regular working stiffs, while the other golf course, which happens to be surrounded by very expensive, high-income neighborhood, they're getting a really modest development proposal. Draw your own conclusions. The Varden Fire Inc. and York Major Holdings redevelopment proposal for Turnberry Golf Course is a direct threat to the quality of life of residents who chose this community because it was planned and zoned as single-family residential, and we're not happy. The Cheviot Neighborhood Association, together with the 466 residents who signed the petition, and there's more, and then there's a bunch watching on your stream, formally demand the complete denial of application 0-SED-S 2025-043, including the official planned amendment, zoning bylaw amendment, and all related subdivision plans. Thanks for your time.
Thanks, Michael. Great job. Suresh, come on down. Suresh is online. Suresh, go ahead. You have 5 minutes.
Good evening. Good evening, all the respected councillors. Hope you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. So, in continuation to what Michael just mentioned here, we are also completely surprised by the proposal for zoning this location. So we are also feeling the pinch of the pressure what is coming to all of us. So I am residing on this location for the last 5+ years and already seeing the effect of the lot of movement where the traffic is unbearable, and you go to public transport, it is not at all properly convenient for everyone. You go to 410, same issue. So I am also opposing the OEZS 2025-0043 with all the reasons what he just mentioned. One is excessive densities. The proposed towers are completely out of their character with the surrounding single family homes who are all happily living in the locations now. With this high density, this will create a big havoc in the region. Infrastructure strain, so local roads, schools, utilities, all will be under pressure. Currently, we don't have enough schooling facility or the hospital facility to manage the existing population itself. So by adding more than 1,000 units in a small location will create a more havoc in that location. Contradicts planning commission's planning commitments. The redesignation from private commercial recreation to high density residential or mixed use violates the intent of the single grow, a Snellgrove Hacklock secondary plan, and undermines the responsible growth. Public health concerns. This is a lesson what we have learned from COVID-19, showed that high density living increases health risk and mental strain, making this proposal irresponsible without considering the health impact on all the people who are currently living in that location. So I highly demand, along with all my residents who are closer to my location in Toba Crescent, that this application OEZS 2025-0043 should not be approved, and all official amendments and all zoning law amendments all should be denied, because this is not a proposal which is going in line with that particular location. So my request to all of you to consider this as a request from all of us. Thank That's about it.
Thank you very much,
Thank you.
Suresh. Is Mandeep Kaur here? Mandeep? They wanted to be online, but they withdrew. Okay. Raul Ortiz Romero. Raul? Welcome. You have 5 minutes.
Hi, so I'm a resident of Ward 2. I'm not exactly a homeowner, and I understand, having lived there since 2012, it is very much a single resident area, single family home resident area, my apologies. However, I'm not entirely against high density housing. It might be very different, stark contrast to what everyone else in the room is feeling. I just feel there might be some necessary steps or some necessary proponents that are needed to include it into this plan to make it more palatable for people. There should be in this, especially in the commercial area, maybe there should be necessary parts where you force them to include affordable childcare options, more options for doctor's offices, dental offices, eye care. These residents need, they're feeling strained, they're feeling there's not options for them in their area already. If they're afraid of being pushed out in healthcare or in other areas, that should be offered to them in this development proposal. Also for the building, most of the time what people hate for high density housing is what people call shoebox condos. It may not be up to you guys exactly, but look, there should not be shoebox condos built nowadays. We have the space for it. If you're going to include high density housing, there should be enough space to have people have a family in there, mom, dad, however, with 1 or 2 or 3 kids. In 600 square foot condo that costs $3,000 plus maintenance fees, that does not make any sense at all, especially in Brampton. There should be options for affordable house care. And also the only option or close around there for a transit terminal is currently in the Trinity Commons area, which is just out in the open with some covered shelters. Maybe in this development plan, there could also be options for a transit terminal in that area, which maybe doesn't get included in the inclusive zoning plan. Maybe that gets reworked, but then it also gets added into there. There should be, at the moment, the proposal is not palatable to the residents nearby. It does not work for the young residents of Brampton that want to move in. However, that should not be dissuading to KLM. They should, instead of seeing this, they should work to make the plan not look like it's for corporate greed. There should be options for non-market housing. There should be options that allow people to see it as an option for their kids, or for when the residents that do currently live here in their single family homes, to see it as an option for them once they are too old to live in their house, to size down, to move into those buildings and still stay within the community that they've grown in and loved. You're gonna hear a lot of no's in the room, and I get it. There are a lot of concerns in this place, especially for congestion. Highway 410 is a drag. That doesn't exactly fall on the councilor's option. That is controlled by the province. Email your MP, email your minister, and email the premier. Contact them, call Doug. His number is available at 24/7. And currently the Brampton Mobility Plan is also planning for improvements along Bovaird. If there's concerns for that, email the city staff and make sure that they're aware of it, and the city staff, make sure they're aware of it and improve that as well. I understand the concerns, but this should not just be a no, flat out. This should be a, at the moment, no. Here are our desires, what the community wants to move this forward. That's how I believe it should be done, because if not, people like me will continue to be priced out of this ward, out of Brampton, because we can't afford a home. I have almost fully given up on owning a home. And it's kind of sad, and I'm sure many people's kids feel the same. Thank you for your time.
Great job, Rob. Thank you. Marcella. Marcella? Online? Marcella, are you there? She will not be speaking, okay. Ryan. I saw Ryan. Welcome, you have 5 minutes.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of committee. My name is Ryan Mino-Lehan. I'm a land use planner and partner with KLM Planning Partners, Inc. I'm here on behalf of Arden Flyers, Inc. and York Major Holdings this evening. I did prepare a presentation. I'm not going to bring it up. Dita did a wonderful job covering off all the facts of the application. The applications before you this evening to amend the official plan, to amend the zoning bylaw, and for draft plan of subdivision approval are to reimagine the Turnberry Golf Course. The Turnberry Golf Course isn't as busy as it used to be, and my client is looking for options to bring new life there. In the winter, it's not operational, it's slowing down. We're looking for new opportunities. What we've heard through discussions with staff is there's a need for the services that many of the residents have spoken to this evening: medical services, grocery, all sorts of retail and other commercial type uses. That's what's envisioned for the commercial uses on the northern portion of the site. And then in response to what we're seeing in the official plan, you heard it tonight from Dita, that your 2006 official plan designates the site as neighborhoods and community. The new official plan designates the sites for community and neighborhoods. It's the secondary plan, the older Snellgrove secondary plan, that isn't in alignment with the intensification objectives of Brampton's official plan that we're trying to meet. We've been at this, I kid you not, 5 to 6 years. We've been engaged with staff on multiple occasions to find the right proposal, a proposal that's we believe is appropriate in the context of the surrounding community. I thank all the residents for coming out tonight and for, providing their comments. I read every letter that was provided to council today, and the comments are meaningful and they're deep, and I understand them. They're concerned about density, they're concerned about traffic, they're concerned about the services and the impacts on infrastructure and roads. I get that, and we're listening, and we're here to let you know that we're working with staff through our consulting team in response to those comments that we've heard tonight. We've also got comments from staff. They're still coming in, the technical comments. We're going to take all of the comments that we've heard this evening. We're going to take all the comments that we heard from technical staff, and we're going to meet with your staff, and we're going to resolve those comments. We're going to address those comments so that what you're left with is an application that can be supported by this council. Again, from my perspective as a professional land use planner, I believe the application is appropriate because what it does is it allows for an appropriate range and mix of housing in the community. There are no apartments in this community. The provincial direction in land use planning is to ensure that there's a broad range and mix of housing opportunity for residents to age in place, for young people to buy a home, for people that don't need a large home, their children have moved out, an opportunity to stay in the community and have access to a smaller place. The range of commercial uses that we provided on the site as well is intended to provide opportunities for residents in the community to be able to walk to get the services that they need without having to always rely on a car. We recognize that this is a very car-dominant community, and it will continue to be for some time, but with the right development, with the right intensification, with the right plan, it will support transit, it will support walkability, it will support a true complete community, and that's what we're after here tonight. So I just wanted to thank you for your time this evening. I'm happy to answer any questions, and again, I thank the public for coming out this evening.
Thank you very much. Now is the opportunity to, if anybody else would like to come down and speak. Welcome, please state your name for the record.
So my name is Susan Alley. I'm going to try not to get emotional, but I back onto Turnberry Estates. I live in the townhouses that are going to be affected by this development. A lot of my neighbors are concerned. During construction, we're going to have to deal with noise, dust, everything that Michael mentioned as well. It's going to be going on for a few years. I purchased my home 15 years ago because I am backing onto Turnberry Estates. If I had known this was going to happen, I wouldn't have moved there. I don't understand why there is such a push to put these high-density condos in an area that is more so residential, smaller homes. I understand the need to get affordable housing, that's great, but there's no guarantee that those condos are going to be affordable. I am going to now end up with these condos and commercial buildings overlooking my home. My value is going to tank. I'm not very young. Our community is very community-oriented. It's quiet. We stand next to each other, but we are all very much concerned. And that's the personal aspect, and I understand everything else that everyone has said, but we are impacted. And I feel as though we're not being heard. And that's just my side.
Thank you for your delegation. This is your opportunity to be heard. And this is that first one. You're here. Everything that you stated will be taken in the report. And you've also heard from the applicant that I think that they said that they want to go back and they want to talk to the residents and bring something back forward. So I don't know what that means, but
yeah, unfortunately, I did not find out about this until Friday night, and a lot of my neighbors who back onto the golf course had no clue. And I went door to door yesterday. And so I feel like there needs to be more effort to reach out to the residents that are affected.
so thank you for that. While we bring up the next person, I'm going to turn it over to Alan to talk about our the correspondence, getting it out to the residents. Thank you very much for your delegation.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I can confirm that, yes, planning staff always, with all of our public meeting items for our development applications, does provide notices to the residents that live in a particular area. We do so really as per the Planning Act by the province, but beyond that as well. So we double the distance that we're required to provide letters to residents from a property to inform everyone about that application. So the distance that's required is 120 meters. We double that to 240 meters. There's a requirement for the sign to be posted on the site as well. We advertise on our website and through the Brampton Guardian. But yes, but with all of these pieces of information coming to staff today, as said already by yourself, we'll be considering all of that information, considering putting it into a recommendation report in the future as well, responding to all those pieces that we've heard, reviewing all the technical pieces and supporting documents from the application, really regarding all of these comments that we've heard today. So in advance of the recommendation report coming forward at a future point in time, we'll be reaching out to all those residents to inform them of when that will be. So if they choose to come and delegate at that point in time, once they've regarded staff's future report, they can do that.
And Alan, the 240 meters, is that by property line?
It is, yes,
By
from the
property line
subject
too.
property outward from there.
Okay, thank you. Lee O'Brien, please come forward and state your name for the record.
Thank you. I figured this out. It's going to take me just around a minute and a half to say my piece, all right?
Okay.
First of all, before I start, I just want to thank you all for making this event possible. I'm a big believer in democratic processes, and this warms my heart to be a part of this. Good evening. My name is Leo O'Brien, and as a concerned local resident, I came here tonight in full support of my fellow Heart Lake neighbors who happen to be living in the general area that is in close proximity to the beautiful Turnberry Golf Course. And hasn't that kind of good news vibe been dramatically altered since this high-rise Armageddon proposal was recently announced by the City of Brampton Planning and Development Committee? I mean, to literally jam in a mini Liberty Village directly adjacent to an upper-scaled housing subdivision made up mostly of beautiful detached homes as well as some stacked townhouses seems like a rather insensitive thing to be doing, considering it will adversely be affecting the quality of life and the home property values of those who have been living there quite happily, up until now, that is. And if I was one of the numerous homeowners living there and had to initially pay an added premium in order to purchase prime realty beside or close nearby to such a beautiful golf course, wouldn't I just be as greatly upset as all these local residents surely are? How about we work together with the developer in order to downsize their plans to include lovely stacked townhouses instead of intrusively towering high-rises? And just as the meeting's chairperson would recall how his dearly departed father, Councillor Paul Peleschi, fought tirelessly for his neighborhood to keep the high-rises at Conestoga and Sandalwood from ever being built there, all we're asking is that his son, Councillor Michael Peleschi, do just that as his dad did. Like father, like son. And why can't there now be a similar kind of compromising solution found here? Let's make it happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Leo. Sylvia, come on up, state your name for the record.
Hello, my name is Sylvia Roberts. I'm a resident of Ward 3. Every time I have driven to Trinity Commons, I immediately regret it because of just how bad the congestion is. Every day the 410 backs up all the way past Steeles. And part of the issue is the 410 is massively bottlenecked here. The provincial government has a plan to widen it, but when I went to the consultation, they're like, so do you think they're going to move? They're like, well, it's kind of conceptual. It's probably going to happen eventually, which is a big issue because this means all of the turning movements back up past the queue capacity and into the through lanes, and it just causes an enormous mess. In most parts of Brampton, we have the intersection of Concession and Side Roads. You have Steeles and Kennedy, and we have two good bus stops at Steeles and Kennedy. The challenge at Beauvert is because how Heart Lake Road is, there really isn't a good bus route running along it. So the applicant has brought forward, and it has all the required minimum parking for a place that doesn't have good transit, and that makes sense because this area does not have good transit. And also the driving is absolutely terrible. So it's not about the high-rise, it's that there's a structural issue with the transportation capacity here. And this may be better suited towards a holding bylaw, but adding adding demand right here, right by the 410 off-ramp may not make sense until the 410 is widened. There's a lot of great places to intensify in Brampton, including probably less than 300 meters from my house. But this isn't one of those locations. At least at the present time with how all of the traffic is at Beauvert and 410. The Sandalwood bus does run by it, but it's not that good right now. And there's probably other places along the Sandalwood bus route to intensify. And then you add riders, and then you improve the bus service, and then there is a better bus route running by it. But right now, there's just serious issues in terms of driving, in terms of all forms of transportation capacity. So that is something to keep in mind as you look forward to this, and that may make sense to incorporate into a holding bylaw requiring proper plans to be worked out for ensuring that there's adequate transportation capacity, because that is a very legitimate concern. This area is, anytime near rush hour, it's always terrible. Thank you, that's my delegation.
Thanks, Sylvia, for your delegation. Next, please.
Hello, my name is Wilma Kolikessian. Some of you know me. I'm a PAL, People Against Littering, and I walk in that White Spruce Park, Moorhead Park, and the neighborhood there every day, and to clean my litter. And Moorhead Park used to be really dirty, and today I found 2 pieces of litter. And now with this new construction, actually I just see that there's another construction going on right besides White Spruce Park, and half of that construction garbage is in White Spruce Park. So I clean up that little forest continuously there, and not only me, the whole group. Then I can just imagine what kind of mess it's going to be with the new construction. But I'm sorry, I'm not a public speaker, but I like to speak from the heart. I really am against that whole thing because I like to protect our green space. I'm speaking on behalf of the green space in this area. Please keep it green and nice so we can walk. Someone suggested in the high rises they make paths for people to walk. Where are they going to walk? There's not much space for them. So please consider that, and thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
And thank you for everything that you do with the people against litter. We really appreciate it. Hi, welcome. Come on up.
Hello, my name's Carolyn Armstrong. I live at 271 Richvale, so I actually live beside the lagoon, which so directly involved with this project. And I did not receive notification of this meeting until Saturday night from one of my neighbors. So I have a deep concern. I'm sorry, sir, I don't recall your name.
Alan.
My apologies. Thank you, Alan. Mr. Parsons. I have a deep concern that although there have been comments here that residents are going to be conjoined with the information and we're going to consult, et cetera, that's lipstick on a pig. I don't believe that will happen. And I say that because I've been a resident. Mr. Pelesci, I was going to mention that I remember your father as well. In fact, I think I called you Paul Pelesci when I saw you up there. I said, so I've been around a long time. I'm an original resident here. In fact, I was in this council meeting when they sold off the first part of the golf course to Lowe's. So, you know, I think I'm fatalistic that something's going to happen. I frankly believe that this project is, especially 29 stories and 3 other buildings in that neighborhood with the traffic and such that we already have. I think that is insane, but I believe that something will happen, and Brampton's growing, and we do need more accommodation, not just in the city, but in the GTA. So I accept that. I just think this is a little bit ridiculous, and I'm very concerned that the residents in the area will not be listened to. So as I say, I received my letter notification last night. I was notified by one of my neighbors Saturday night. I think that's ridiculous. Thank you.
Thank you for your delegation. Welcome. Please state your name for the record.
Good evening. My name is Lei Tan. I'm a resident in the neighborhood. I only have one point. I think all of you don't know, because my backyard faces the golf course, so I do birding every day. So I saw there's in the winter, in the middle of the golf course, there's a lake. That lake is not freeze in the winter, even in the January and February. So because that reason, thousands of birds, it's goose, a duck, and a swan, will fly to the lake in the evening to stay in the water, because coyote will chase them in that water, in that lake. They will save, but in the day, so the goose and the swan stay on the snow, so coyote will chase them. When coyote come, all of thousands of goose will fly around the golf course. So if they build a high tower, so it must block all the bird activity. So that's a big issue for the thousands of birds. So that's my point.
Thank you. Thank you for your delegation. Anybody else like to come down? This is the last call for anybody that wants to come down and ask any questions. Seeing none, we move receipt of the application, the delegations, and the correspondence, 1 through to 21. So with that being said, I want to go back to, I see a couple letters. Who received a letter? Yeah, and just throw out your street? Your fairway? Islands. Okay, so a few did, and it's always an ongoing issue with us. We're always trying to do better. Other than a registered mail to your door, it's really difficult. All the letters that came to your house, yes. And then, sorry, they're not, we don't do registered mail, but we do the drop. Alan, do you want to clarify? Sorry, 1 second. Go ahead.
So, through Mr. We do mail the letters, that's right.
Okay, thank you. So we do mail out letters. A lot of people don't get the letters that come, or like me, sometimes they get lost in the Canadian Tire catalog and thrown out. So you do have one.
I got it last night from my neighbor. It was delivered to her house, hand delivered to
Okay.
her house. Yeah, I get that. But a lot of our.
Post office. Okay, so again, we'll continue to see what we can do better. We'll do it also, get other stuff out. When everybody that delegated here today, every person that's on the correspondence, everybody that put your name to the petition, you will all get notified that when this report is written by staff, you will you will be given a copy of the report, and you will be told when it will be coming back. Roughly 3, 4, 5 months.
That could be the case, Mr.
Yep.
Chair. So we
Depending
do have
on, depending on some of the technical analysis, and it's 3, 4, 5 months, and everybody will be notified. So with that being said, it's been moved. All in favor? That carries. Thank you very much, everybody. The meeting's not over, so anybody that's leaving, I'm going to ask you to leave quietly now. I'll wait a couple minutes before we continue. Please and thank you. 6.4 is next.
I appreciate that.
Could I have a colored picture? Back in. Okay, I'm going to ask everybody else to refrain from speaking for a couple minutes while we. Sorry, that's, we have Arjun up, and Arjun's going to talk about the permit, the development of the community park, private industrial lands, and future public roads, as per, I think somebody put their hand up and wanted to listen to, for the location of 10491, 10517, 10411 Clark Way Drive, Ward 10. Arjun, before you begin, I'll ask security. Can we get them to just keep pushing them out, please? And not physically, please? I'm just saying. Just ask them nice, really, really politely, just to move along, please. Arjun, when you're ready. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee, members of the public, and city colleagues. My name is Arjun Singh, and I'm the planner assigned to process and review the subject application. The purpose of this public meeting is to provide information to the public and seek feedback on the application filed by Glenn Schnorr and Associates on behalf of the Secondary Plan 47 Landowners Group. The proposal is to permit the development of a community park, private industrial lands, and future public roads. That's perfect. The subject properties are located in Ward 10. The subject properties are municipally known as 10491, 10517, and 10411 Clarkway Drive. The site is located north of Castlemore Road and east of Clarkway Drive, south of Countryside Drive. Next slide, please. This slide shows an overview of the subject site and surrounding land uses. To the north, agricultural lands, beyond which are lands planned to be developed for residential uses, further beyond which is the planned route for the Highway 413. To the south, currently agricultural lands with lands approved for residential development. To the east, currently agricultural lands planned for industrial developments with approved and currently being reviewed applications, further beyond which is Cadetta Road. And to the west, Clarkway Drive and agricultural uses, beyond which are lands planned for residential and open space uses. Next slide, please. This is an aerial view of the subject property and the surrounding area. Next slide, please. This slide displays photos from a site visit conducted in November of this year. Next slide, please. The applicant has submitted an application to amend the zoning bylaw and for a draft plan of subdivision for the purposes of conveying a community park and future public roads to the city. 7.04 hectares of private lands are also proposed to be zoned from agricultural to industrial in accordance with the secondary plan 47 land use schedule. Further details include 15.62 hectares dedicated towards a public park, 7.04 hectares dedicated towards industrial land uses, 2.88 hectares dedicated towards public roads, road widenings, and reserves, and programming of the park is to be informed by the Parks and Recreation Master Plan and may include opportunities to co-locate community amenities and other community uses. Next slide, please. Prior to finalizing recommendations to council, this application will be further evaluated for consistency with the Planning Act, Provincial Planning Statement, City of Brampton Official Plan, Brampton Plan, and the Highway 427 Industrial Secondary Plan. Next slide, please. The subject lands are designated industrial, open space, residential, and special study area. The industrial designation permits a variety of uses, including manufacturing, distribution, warehousing, and limited service, office, and retail uses. The open space designation permits community parks and conservation areas. An amendment to the official plan is not required. Next slide, please. On November 1st, 2023, Brampton Council adopted the City of Brampton's new official plan, Brampton Plan. The official plan provides clear direction and principles to guide city building, attaining its vision for the future, and support the city to become a vibrant urban city of over 1 million people by 2051. The subject site is designated as community areas and employment areas on Schedule 1A city structure. An amendment to the official plan is not required. Next slide, please. Subject lands are located within the Highway 427 Industrial Secondary Plan and are designated as community parks, prestige industrial, neighborhood park, medium density residential, low/medium density residential, and secondary gateway. An amendment to the secondary plan is not required. Next slide, please. Subject lands are zoned agricultural, agricultural special section 2517, and residential rural estate 2. Permitted uses in the agricultural and residential zones include but are not limited to agricultural uses, a single detached dwelling, an animal hospital, and a kennel facility. An amendment to the zoning bylaw is required to facilitate the requested changes. Next slide, please. The proposed zoning bylaw amendment will permit the rezoning of the subject site from an agricultural zone to an open space and industrial 4 zone with a holding symbol. Next slide, please. Key issues and considerations for this application include coordination of new public roads and site services for the planned industrial lands, appropriateness of using a holding symbol for the lands subject to future development, zoning and performance standards for industrial lands to ensure appropriate buffers and landscaping are provided between the community park and adjacent industrial land uses, and future park programming for the community park in accordance with the Parks and Recreation Master Plan. These issues and considerations will be addressed in the future recommendation report, and staff will provide responses to any additional issues that are raised. The application has been filed with the city. The application was circulated to commenting departments and agencies. We are now at the public meeting stage. The next steps in the application are staff will continue the review of the application, including reviewing comments from the public and technical comments, advancing a final recommendation report to council for a decision. Issues raised will be addressed in the future recommendation report. Staff will also contact and follow up with those residents who have written, spoken, or advised of an interest in monitoring this proposal. Next slide, please. The development application can be accessed by the public through Brand Plan Online. Through Brand Plan Online, members of the public can click search for an application link, then type the file number of the application in the required field, which in this case is OZS 2025-0045. This brings up the file page whereby clicking the File Info tab will allow for all drawings and documents associated with the development application to be viewed. Next slide, please. This report and the presentation associated with tonight's meeting is available online. Once again, my name is Arjun Singh, and my contact information is posted on the screen, along with the contact information of the applicant, Mark Condello from Glenn Schnarr and Associates, who is representing the landowners. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact myself, my manager, or the applicant. Thank you kindly and have a great evening.
Thanks, Arjun. Great job. I'm going to ask if anybody like to come down and ask any questions about this item. Again, asking the Ward 10, 104, 191, 105, 17, 104, 11 Clarkway Drive. To the development of a community park, private industrial lands, and future public roads. Would you like to come down and ask any questions? Seeing none, been moved by Deputy Mayor Singh. Receive of the application. All in favor? That carries. Next is application precinct 25/5 Landowners Group Inc., care of Glenn Schnarr and Associates Inc., to approve precinct plan in precinct area 52-5 within Heritage Heights and associated official plan amendment. Location is east of Winston Churchill Boulevard, south of CN Railway, north of Bovaird Drive West, and west of the proposed Highway 413, Ward 6. We have Rajvi Patel, planner, presenting on the amendment to the official plan.
Good evening, Chair, Vice Chair, and members of the committee, members of the public, and city colleagues. My name is Rajvi Patel, and I am the planner assigned to process and review the subject application. The purpose of this public meeting is to provide information to the public and seek feedback on the application filed by Glenn Schnarr and Associates on behalf of Precinct 52-5 Landowners Group Incorporated. Next slide, please. A new proposal for a precinct plan is proposed within the Heritage Heights Precinct Area 52-5. Precinct 52-5 is a new planned community that has a gross land area of 372.92 hectares, will be home for over 18,773 new residents, and will accommodate approximately 959 jobs. Next slide, please. The subject area is located in Ward 6, south of the CN Rail, east of Heritage Road, north of Bovaird Drive West, and west of Winston Churchill Boulevard. Next slide, please. This map shows an overview of the subject site within the property and surrounding land uses. To the north is CN Rail, and beyond are agricultural lands and a new residential subdivision applications. To the south is Bovaird Drive West, and beyond are greenbelt lands, natural heritage features, the former Simons Building, agricultural lands, and new residential subdivision applications. To the east is the future Highway 413, and beyond are recently approved medium-density residential subdivisions and Mississauga Road. To the west is Winston Churchill Boulevard, and beyond is the town of Halton Hills. Next slide, please. This slide shows an aerial photo of the site and surrounding uses. Next slide, please. This slide shows photos from the site visit conducted on November 5th, 2025. Next slide, please. The applicant has submitted an application for a precinct plan official plan amendment for precinct area 52-5 in the Heritage Heights secondary plan area. The precinct plan includes approximately 2,267 single detached dwellings, approximately 1,079 townhouse units, approximately 2,590 apartment units, 3 elementary schools, 7 parks, 7 stormwater management ponds, natural heritage systems, the Metrolinx layover facility, and transportation for the future Highway 413 corridor. Next slide, please. Prior to finalizing recommendations and advancing an associated final report to council, this development application will be further evaluated for compliance with the Planning Act as amended, consistency with the provincial planning statement, and conformity to the in effect Region of Peel official plan, the City of Brampton official plan, and the Heritage Heights secondary plan. Staff will be prepared to respond to any public comments at the meeting and provide advice to Planning Committee as needed on staff's recommendations related to the comments. Next slide, please. The subject lands are designated in the official plan 2006 as the Northwest Brampton Urban Development Area, which is intended to develop as a compact, complete, and connected community with a mix of uses and a range of housing types and densities. And open space, which includes public and private open space, valley lands, watercourse corridors, wetlands, and woodlands. An amendment to the official plan is not required to facilitate this development. Next slide, please. Within the region-adopted Brampton Plan, the subject property is designated community areas, natural heritage system, greenbelt plan, protected countryside, and located near a town center and planned corridor within Schedule 1A. On Schedule 2, the subject lands are further designated as neighborhoods, natural heritage system, Heritage Heights secondary plan area, and greenbelt plan, and Northwest Brampton. The neighborhoods designation permits predominantly residential uses supported by community facilities and local commercial services. The natural heritage system designation applies to portions of the property containing features such as wetlands, valley lands, and woodlands which require protection, restoration, and enhancement. An amendment to the Brampton Plan is not required to facilitate the development. Next slide, please. The subject lands are located within the Heritage Heights secondary plan and carry several designations including neighborhoods, mixed-use residential medium, mixed-use residential high, natural heritage system, greenbelt area, protected countryside, CN Railway lay-by and maintenance facility, as well as areas identified for neighborhood park, elementary school, secondary school, conceptual railway crossing, and focused analysis area. The mixed-use residential medium allows for mid-rise buildings and townhouses together with supporting retail, service, and office uses. The mixed-use residential high permits a wide range of institutional, residential, and commercial uses in a mix of high-rise and mid-rise street-related buildings. The neighborhoods designation permits a diverse mix of land uses, including a range of housing types, shops, services, local access to food, schools and daycare facilities, employment, green spaces, parks, and pathways. An amendment to the secondary plan is required to adopt the Precinct Plan 52.5 and associated policies. Next slide, please. The subject lands are subject to interim control bylaws 306/2003, 290/2021, 215/2022, which prohibits development as it is located within the province's focused analysis area for the GTA West Multimodal Transportation Corridor. Subject to clearance from the MTO, an amendment to the interim control bylaw is required. A majority of the lands within Precinct Area 52.5 are zoned agricultural, which permits predominantly agricultural purposes. Other lands are zoned institutional 1, which permits a school, place of worship, and day nursery. Additional lands are zoned commercial agricultural, which permits a garden center, sales establishment, farm, produce stand, and an animal hospital. An amendment to the zoning bylaw is required to facilitate the proposed development. Next slide, please. At this time, preliminary issues or considerations that will need to be addressed include comprehensive planning for the traffic network, municipal servicing, and supporting infrastructure within the precinct, coordination of the site-specific technical studies with the broader Heritage Heights secondary plan level studies, coordination with the Ministry of Transportation on infrastructure related to Highway 413, coordination with the town of Halton Hills for the east-west connection focus area, alignment of the proposal with precinct-level growth and density targets, compatibility of proposed residential uses with adjacent railway operations, further clarification on the build form and building heights within mixed-use blocks, delineation and protection of natural heritage features and greenbelt areas, the adequacy of community services in the area, and assessment of impact on listed and designated heritage resources. Next slide, please. Staff is hosting a statutory public meeting this evening to share information of the proposed official plan amendment on the subject lands and provide an opportunity for members of the public to express comments, perspectives, and opinions. Staff will continue to review the applicant's planning rationale and supporting plans, drawings, and technical comments, and staff will advance a final recommendation report for council decision in the future based on the details of the proposed development and applicable planning laws and policies while incorporating comments and considerations from community members, technical reviewers, and other stakeholders. Staff will also follow up with members of the public and other stakeholders who have spoken, written in, or advised of an interest in monitoring this proposal. Next slide, please. For more information on the development proposal, the applicant's submission materials, including architectural plans, drawings, and supporting studies, are publicly accessible through the city's Brown Plan online portal. Type the file number of the application in the required field, which in this case is OZS 2025-0049. This brings up the file page, where by clicking the File Info tab, you'll be allowed to view all drawings and documents associated with this development application. Next slide, please. This public meeting presentation will be available online as part of the Planning and Development Committee meetings minutes shortly. For any questions or comments about this development application, please contact myself, my manager, or the applicant, Harry Wessels, who is representing Lunchnar and Associates. The corresponding contact information are shown on the screen. Next slide, please. Thank you and have a good evening.
Thank you very much. Well done. Now we'll go to delegations. We have Yuri. Yuri, come on down. Father, you're coming down too?
We're going to swap. Is that okay?
100%. Whatever you want. Father Tom, please go ahead. You have 5 minutes.
My name is Father Tom Hrivna. I am the pastor, parish priest of St. Elias Church, which is in Heritage Heights. Actually, 16 months ago today, I was appointed the pastor. I became the pastor after Father Roman Galadza, who many of you knew, reposed in the Lord on August 1st, 2023. Being pastor of St. Elias is a tall task, not just because you fill Father Roman's shoes, but it's a church that is known not just in Brampton or in Ontario or in Canada, but I would venture to guess that there are thousands of people around the world who, when they hear Brampton, think St. Elias. Whether that was because of the tragic fire of April 2015, whether that's because of the worship that we do there, the land, whether it's the community that drives in from as far as Woodstock and St. Catharines to come and worship there on Sunday, it's a parish that is very well known. In 2026, we'll celebrate 50 years of being part of the Brampton community, and it was 40 years ago in 1985, and some of the parishioners of the parish who are here with me tonight were there. I wasn't born yet. I'll give away my age that way. It's 4 years away from that. They were there when the first service on the land took place after it was purchased in 1985. So we've been there since 1985. Yet, you wouldn't know that because we are not part of the landowners group. Never been asked to be part of the landowners group. Didn't even know there was a landowners group that was planning together with, developers who have their own concerns, that we're planning this precinct plan, even though we've been there 40 years. And we will be there well beyond any development that takes place. We will be there for generations. I will state unequivocally, we're not against a plan. We're against this plan. Because this plan is proposing, and I know it's a provincial responsibility, but you are making recommendations to the province, and I know the City of Brampton's recommendations on the Northwest GTA Transmission Corridor. The recommendation is that a third of our land, which is consecrated space for worship, for prayer, for burial, and for many other uses which some other people will talk about, be locked off. And no one ever spoke to us about this, to say, hey, you're in this area just like us, let's meet, let's talk. I will say, and Mr. Parsons, we didn't receive a notification by mail, and we have two addresses because I live on the property at 10173 and the church at 10193. We received a notification wedged in the church hall door, which was hand-delivered. So something's wrong here, where we have two mailboxes and two buildings on the property and two addresses, and we didn't receive anything. Again, like I said, we're not against a plan. We realize that that area is going to be developed. Listen, it would be beautiful if there was countryside in the city of Brampton, so that we don't have some of the problems that people are talking about in Trinity Commons or in other parts of Brampton. But we're realistic. We know there will be some sort of development. But the development has to be rethought. And it has to be rethought not simply for landowners to make the almighty dollar as much as they can, but to think about the communities that are there, and that includes the other two places of worship, and the communities that will be there far beyond, that will be there for generations. If there are, in fact, are going to be over 18,000 new residents in this area, there's this likelihood that some will worship at our church. Maybe they'll be Byzantine Rite Catholics or Orthodox. They may want to bury their loved ones in our cemetery and be able to come and pray at their graves. But this plan, as presented, will severely restrict what we can do and how we can continue to worship there. So I thank you for this opportunity to speak. We are willing partners with the landowners. We would like to discuss something that is equitable for everyone involved, not just for those who want to dispose of their land and earn money. Thank you.
Thank you, Father Trump. Welcome, Yuri.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Yuri Palashchuk. I'm a longtime member, parishioner of St. Elias Ukrainian Catholic Church. I currently serve on the cemetery board. And my delegation is in response to the Precinct 52-5 application to amend the Heritage Heights plan, particularly the map as presented, which proposes that almost 4/5 of our eastern property forest be designated for a hydro transmission corridor. This is proposed by the plan. In 1992, we planted 10,000 seedlings on the eastern 10 acres approximately of the St. Elias property. Those seedlings have since matured into 30-plus foot trees of mixed coniferous and deciduous species. In fact, with sincere thanks to the Credit Valley Conservation Authority, who planted over 200 fresh mixed tree seedlings and shrubs, will help stave off invasive plant species on our property in those woods and fill in bare spots in the forest. The forest acts as a sight, sound, and wind buffer. It captures carbon and gives off precious oxygen. Elementary school science stuff. More than that, it is a consecrated burial ground and a place of meditation and prayer, which many people visit beyond our parishioners. Even more than that, it's a classroom. Every July, our parish conducts 2-week summer day camp for the children of our parish, with attendance up to 50 youngsters currently. We have even conducted winter and early spring activities for the children in these woods. The kids love being in the woods. We've taught them to tap the maple trees for sap, to make syrup, to harvest pine and spruce needles to make tea, to forage for wild berries and other edible plants, to learn wilderness survival skills, such as fire making and shelter building, to learn camouflage and tracking skills, to learn about forest and animal and plant ecology, even to harvest and use the pine and spruce resin to treat injuries. We're teaching our children to be responsible stewards of the land. Pardon my audacity, but shame on those that would even suggest taking this learning opportunity away from our children. Let's come up with a more creative and less intrusive solution. Thank you.
Thank you, Yuri, for your delegation. I'll now open the opportunity up for anybody else that would like to come down and ask any questions or delegate on on the item before us? We got a couple coming down. Come on down. Okay, go ahead. Bruce Reed, please state your name for the record.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, staff, the public. I hadn't planned to speak this evening, but I just want to kind of maybe set the record straight. I've lived at 10378 Heritage Road for the last 52 years. We moved there in 1973. I've raised my family there. We farm it. We've seen a lot of changes over the years. That's the only thing that's constant is change. We fought a landfill site there in the 80s. We fought a quarry in along lockstep with St. Alliance, Father Galonzo and Father Kennedy. I think we've been successful in stopping the quarry. Yes, I could have sold out years ago, but with the help of my son, James, we're trying to build a community there, design a community that Brampton is proud of, something that it's an integrated community. We've spent a lot of money, I'm not bragging or complaining, to do the studies and get the right kind of proposal. And we think this is a good start. I will say the 3 churches that are in the area, and I'm not saying this as a criticism of St. Alliance, but Father Galonzo used to reach out on a regular basis. We used to talk in 2006 when the official plan brought these lands in. We talked. Naren Carey has reached out to us. The Jehovah's Witnesses have reached out. And again, I'm not saying it as a criticism, but St. Elias, I don't know how they can say they didn't know this was coming or this was being worked on, but I just wanted to say we're open to sit down with them and talk about their problems. I did briefly see their letter and their questions about sidewalks and rail fences and quiet areas. I think that's what we want in the community. That's what we need to do. So it's really just a matter of working with them, with the consultants on, and let's get the right community there. We know it's coming, so let's just do it right. So you know, I'm not the consultant here, but I'm just saying we want this done right, and we're willing to work with them whenever they want to work together. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, committee.
Thank you for your delegation. You got to sign your name in the book. You coming back down? Yeah. Okay. Did you sign in the book? No. Okay, come. Don't trip. No, come. Yeah. Please state your name for the record.
Sure. Hi, my name is Ben Holiday. I'm a parishioner at St. Elias for 10 years. I feel like this was more of a, we speak our piece, but you said questions. So I had some questions. Brampton, we got this letter saying, here's the way things are gonna be, but they got the hydro corridor. So I don't understand who's in charge of the official plan or how the landowner constructed this plan. 2 levels of government. Do we have to call Doug Ford to petition that? Because that's our main beef, in my view, is they're lopping off our land. So that's my question.
I'm not going to begin to even try and get into that. That is extremely complicated, but I'm happy to talk to you about it offline for sure.
Okay, because originally, according to Father Tom, the hydro corridor was going to go run elsewhere. And then suddenly, a few weeks ago, we got this letter changing the whole plan, and now we're here, right? Sort of under the
Originally,
gun.
there was a Bram West Parkway and there wasn't a 413.
Right. So things are moving, I understand that.
Yeah. in
But
different-
at
in
the same
opposite
time,
directions.
we've got our own considerations here, right? And for me, I've been listening all night, or tonight, and I just wanted some clarity on that. Maybe we can talk later and you can let me know how that works, and we can go from there. So, thank you, anyway.
Thank you very much for your delegation. Anybody else want to come down and have any other questions, comments? Seeing none, the report, the delegations, and the correspondence been moved by Councillor Barr. All in favor? That carries. Our next item is the application to amend the official plan and zoning bylaw, Fete Developments, Glen Schnarr Associates, to permit an 8-story mixed-use building containing 94 residential units, retail and offices uses at grade, and additional office space on the second floor, 1453 Queen Street West. Who do we have? We have Sagar that's going to come up, but we'll wait a couple minutes for people to exit. Alan?
Sorry, through you, Mr. Chair. The item that's up next is a recommendation report.
Oh my
No.
gosh, I went right over the planning applications. Yes, it's a recommendation report, which was held by Councillor Keenan. 7.1. Councillor Keenan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, so thanks staff for, the work that you did on this. Just really quickly, I just, going through the report and, seeing all the residents that we had come prior, during the, public meeting side. Councilor Medeiros and myself did read some emails saying they didn't feel that their, either questions or concerns were answered. I'm gonna refer this back to staff to give us a little bit more time with it. I also noticed there were some holding provisions on there, for environmental, I believe, if I'm remembering correctly. And I'm thinking that may be something that, why are we rushing through it, right? Why are we putting a hold for something like that? I think we should just finish the process the way that it should be, and if we need more time to do so, happy to take that time. But really, if we can just get a meeting with myself and Councilor Medeiros, with staff, to review those items, I think that's what I would like to do with this. I see that Councilor Medeiros is up to.
Thank you, Councillor Keenan. Councillor Medeiros, speaking to the referral.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just echo the my colleague, Councillor Keenan. I think he's bang on this, and I think our residents have expressed some issues around the visibility in terms of the proximity and towards their backyards and where on their homes. And I don't think the report, and I appreciate staff's work on it. I think we just need some time to review it and communicate with our residents better. So I do appreciate staff, but I do support the referral.
Thank you very much. Application to amend the official plan and zoning bylaw, Fete Developments, Glen Schnarr and Associates, Inc., to permit an 8-story mixed-use building containing 94 residential units, retail office uses at grade, and additional office space on the second floor at 1453 Queen Street West has been referred by Councillor Keenan to staff and in discussions with the area councillors, and to be brought back at a future date. All in favor? Do I have a delegation here? Sebastian. Do I have a delegation on this? 712? Okay, no questions. It's being referred back to staff and you and the area councillors. All in favor? That carries. Next item is 7.2, application amend the zoning bylaw, official plan and zoning bylaw. The application is Balmoral Inc., Canyon Walker Domes Limited, to permit mixed-use development consisting of mid to high-rise building with 932 residential units and approximately 552 square meters of commercial gross floor area at 507 Balmoral Drive, Ward 7. We have Alex Sippy here to answer any questions. Seeing no questions, we have delegation. Mark Denardis. No delegation.
It's been moved by, oh, Councilor Fortini's on the board. Councilor Fortini.
So, thank you, Mr. Chair. So this comes for approval, am I right? So, I'm a little bit concerned, you know, a lot of the people being displaced on this, it's a rental. So going back to the licensing program, can you explain why they don't qualify under legislation? Under the provincial?
Through the chair, through to you to Councillor Fortini, when you say licensing program, are you referring to the residential demolition licensing program?
No,
that was
yeah,
brought
in
forward?
case of any rental licensing program that we just did in November 3rd. It was sent to planning. There was no date coming back. And it says here, the city established a rental conversion demolition bylaw and had referred it back to our city planning policy staff, November 3rd. In this case, any rental license program is not accepted. The developer would need to clarify and satisfy under provincial requirements to offer current residents a displacement accommodation or 3 months pay of rental.
Through the chair, through to you, Councillor Fortini. So, if memory serves, at that planning committee, council echoed that there's a number of initiatives currently underway to incentivize the supply of affordable housing. One, through the purpose-built rental program that council endorsed, and then two, through to those member of council who sit at the regional council through the regional DC and deferral and grant program. So on that premise, the matter was referred back to staff for further review, and staff haven't brought that bylaw back as yet at this time.
I'm not asking about, I got the email that they don't qualify under the provincial legislation. So what we do here, doing motions and all, actually we have no teeth at the end. We have no say. It's a provincial requirements. That's what I'm asking. So anything we approve or don't approve under the provincial guidelines, requirements, that's what it's entitled. They get accommodation. If the landlord or the tenant do not agree, they're only allowed 3 months pay and say goodbye. So we're kind of selling goods here to them.
Bill 68.
You know, yeah. We're selling some goods to them, which is not true. And I think we should be more clear and say, you know what, it's time to find a place because it's not up to us, it's a provincial requirement.
So through the chair, through to you to Councillor Fortini, I believe what you might be referring to is Bill 60.
Yeah, it's Bill 60.
I don't have the email that you're referring to, so I can't speak to it. But
Well, Alan Camden.
It's, hold on a second here. This is our commissioner.
It was done by Alan.
Just a minute. Councilor Fortini, now we're getting more information. Okay. Alan, you provided an email.
Yes.
Bill 60, has it received royal descent?
Through the chair,
Yeah,
yes, Bill
okay.
60, yes.
Alan, you sent an email to Councilor Fortini.
And all of us, actually.
Councillor, through you, Mr. Chair, through to Councillor Fortini, I can't recall the specific email that's being referenced, but I'd like to know more. What I can speak to, though, through you again, Mr. Chair, is that because there is no current program in place through the city with respect to the residential conversion, in speaking with other staff to confirm what would apply in this case, if it was that residents are being misplaced or needing to leave the site ultimately here because a development was to occur, that the provincial requirements would apply, and that the provincial requirements, and I can't speak to the details of their program, but I'm understanding generally through our housing policy staff, is that the residents would receive from their current landlord a period of 3 months rent. Or there's arrangements that could be had for the residents to find them a location or a residence in another location. But it's one of those two options that are available currently through the provincial program.
So correct, and that's what I tried to clarify. So it doesn't matter what we do here, motions or no motions. At the end, it's a provincial regulated, and they don't follow under that. So at the end, if the developer wants to build, he says, I found you a place in Scarborough because I know they own a lot of condos, rentals, and they don't want to go. Here's your 3 months, goodbye. So at the end, the only thing we could help with this development, and hoping maybe to put a hold, because I knew when it came with 45 stories, it was never going to go because NAV Canada, they got the airplane path there, and I knew that from the beginning, so they dropped it down to 19 stories. If we don't accept it, there maybe they might have a chance to say, okay, it's not worth it, to go for an appeal and all this, and 19 stories, we'll just leave everything the way it is. So I'm not going to be supporting this application. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Fortini. Councilor Power.
Thank you, and through you, Mr. Chair. So there's been a number of items that were raised about this development, and I chose to take a different path. So I was the one that brought forth the motion for the demolition bylaw that we've referred back to staff and we're waiting on. But I've also toured the property with the owners to look at some of the things that were brought up in the last council or last planning meeting, like the water pressure, hot water, cleaning services, parking, snow removal, rent escalations, elevator being out of service. And the last one was the doors had no locks on them. The doors are operational, they have locks on them. There was no problem with any of the water services. There was a problem with the elevator. The elevator is 60 years old as the building, and they struggle with finding parts for the building. The current rental rates in that building are between $14.50 and $21.50. The longest tenant in that building is 26 years, and she's in her 80s. I struggle with this one because I want to stand with the residents, and so I would like to see the developer or GWD come on up and discuss some of the things that they're going to do to help the residents before they're displaced. If I'm not mistaken, this building or this project won't go into effect for another 5 to 10 years, is what they were saying, as well as there's a servicing problem that we have out there. If we can.
So I don't know if GWD can answer any of those questions. If you can't, don't come up. Okay. Mark, go ahead.
Public. My name is Mark Denardis. I'm a planning associate at GWD Planners. Planner assigned to this file, been processing it for quite some time. The public meeting was in June. We've been working on this project for well over a year with staff through the completeness review. We worked hard during the summer months and into the fall, addressing all the circulation comments that we received both from internal staff as well as external agencies, and addressing the comments that were raised at the public meeting. In terms of servicing, the Region Appeal has been a commenting agency on this file. We received their clearance just earlier this fall. They did advise that to service this proposed development, there are upgrades that need to be done both by the region as well as by the owner. So it's on both parts. But they did confirm, and so did our servicing engineer, that the project can be serviced. In terms of displacement of existing residents, so this is a land use application. There is no definitive timeline to demolish the existing building. No decisions have been made on whether it's a rental, a condo, or a combination of the two. But what I can assure you is that the owner will, as part of the detailed planning applications, and then when they get to implementation, there will all have to be a displacement program or relocation program that's put into effect. And I'm sure staff will make that a priority or a requirement as part of that detailed design. So that's the best I can offer. Yeah, happy to answer any questions.
Do you have any other questions, Councilor? I got you. There you go.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, back through the chair. Thanks for that information. Since this has to be ratified at council, I would like to ask if we can have representatives from the developer be at council so we can ask some questions for them.
Okay, so the request is from the area councilors for the owners of the property to come and answer some questions before council when this gets ratified. When will the minutes come to council?
December 10th, sir.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions of GWD? Councillor Fortini, do you have questions?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, go ahead.
I just want to say thank you, and I'm glad you clarified that, because on the 45 stories, they did not have the sewer capacity. And like Vice Chair at the region, on the 19 stories, they do have accommodation, so I'm glad you clarified. So there is capacity for approval from the region on this, for the sewer capacity and all.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you very much. We'll have this application to permit a mixed-use development consisting of mid to high-rise buildings with 932 residential units and approximately 552 square meters of commercial gross floor area at 507 Balmoral Drive, Ward 7. Be approved. All in favor? That moved by Councillor Fortini? Sorry, Councillor Vincente? I'm looking at you. Sure. Sorry, I apologize. Recorded vote has been called. To approve the application. Yep. Which then just goes to council and to be ratified at council.
Through you, Chair, recorded vote. All those in favor, please stand. I see Chair Palashi, Councillor Brar, Councillor Vicente. Online, Councillor Santos, how do you vote?
In favor?
Councillor Medeiros, how do you vote?
Opposed.
Deputy Mayor Singh, how do you vote?
In favor.
And all those opposed, please stand. And opposed, I see Councillor Fortini and Councillor Power. That motion is carried, sir.
Thank you very much. Our next item is the staff report, item 8.1. Staff report by Fernanda Duert, Pexcoto Soares, Project Manager, Active Transportation, response to requests to remove sidewalk on Gold Bottom Crescent, Ward 10. Oh, that was in consent. Other item in consent was 8.2 was in consent, right? 9.1 was in consent. Sorry, 11.1? 11.1 supplementary report. Supplementary report by David Vanderberg, Manager Development Services, new comprehensive zoning bylaw, urban design guidelines, and driveway standards citywide. Any members have any questions? No. 1, 2, 3, 4. No question. Nobody online asking questions? Do you have a mover? The comprehensive zoning bylaw?
I believe someone was here to delegate on it, wasn't there?
I do have a delegation. Gian Marcon. Please go ahead. Go ahead.
Good evening, and thank you for your time tonight. My name is John Marcon, and I've been a resident and homeowner of Brampton for 40 years. As you are aware, Brampton staff have been working on new zoning bylaws, and I'm here today on behalf of a number of very concerned residents in Ridge Hill Manor and Peel Village to request your urgent attention to a matter of public and environmental safety. There are several concerns that have been repeatedly brought forward over the last year. These safety concerns came to light as a result of the disaster at 13 Caledon Crescent, a property that went viral on TikTok with over 1 million views and was featured on Global News due to the egregious safety concerns that were ignored by enforcement and the city of Brampton. Brampton needs to do better. It was brought to the attention of planning staff that residents were insisting on a minimum 1.2 meter setback from the outer edge of any window well, and that it is critical to do so. If you want 1.2 meters visually, that gap right at the beginning, that's what it is. A wheelchair can go through there, which I'll come back to later. Not only for accessibility and proper egress in cases of emergencies, but for the basic safety of residents and first responders. Despite these legitimate concerns being formally raised by several residents, we were deeply disappointed to see that the staff response completely ignored the request by residents. In fact, What was returned to us was a proposal to actually allow for a 0.55 meter encroachment, a move that reduces the clear distance to just 0.65 meters, which is about the width of my shoulders, just so you have the visual here, which is barely enough space for an adult to squeeze through, let alone first responders who are carrying vital equipment or individuals with mobility issues. This is entirely unacceptable. Reducing setbacks and allowing for this encroachment jeopardizes emergency access, impedes evacuation, and creates dangerous pinch points in what are supposed to be safe, livable residential spaces. Frankly, as residents, we are completely baffled as to why there is so much resistance from staff to a very basic common sense safety standard. When it comes to egress windows near property lines, the city should adopt a consistent, unobstructed 1.2 minimum meter setback for all homes. That's what it is now. Whether new builds or in mature neighborhoods, this standard aligns with the Accessibility for Ontarians with Disability Act passed in 2005 to make Ontario barrier-free and accessible. It is also consistent with recognition that a 1.2 meter setback is the safe, unobstructed width, and the word unobstructed is key, that is necessary for both accessibility and emergency access. Applying the current 1.2 meter setback from the outer edge of a window well would bring consistency, improve safety, and ensure that side yard walkways remain clear and compliant for everyone, including residents, first responders, and those with mobility needs. We're asking the city to do the right thing and reject the proposed 0.55 meter encroachment allowance and instead support a clear, unobstructed, which is what it is now, 1.2 meter setback from the outer edges of all window wells on interior side yards. The plain and simple current language is explicit and hinges on the words unobstructed width of 1.2 meters. This bylaw was implemented for good reason and has served the community well for many years. It thoughtfully contemplated what a safe and reasonable distance was required for all citizens, including those with mobility access and issues, to safely live in and move about their properties. We are going backwards. Right now, a person with a wheelchair can go up the side of their house with a 1.2 meter clearance. If you allow this variation to 0.55, they will no longer be able to access their own backyards. How is that increasing accessibility in Ontario today? The simple answer, it's not. The proposed bylaw diminishment puts the citizens of Brampton at risk. When a group of us met with bylaw staff in September, we were told that inhabitants of those houses could just jump over the window well to get by. The absurdity of that statement is staggering. Can you imagine a senior or someone requiring a walker, wheelchair, or other assistive device trying to navigate such a deep and wide obstruction? It would be both impossible and dangerous. The assumption that active, younger inhabitants would be able to work around this bylaw violation is simply misguided and frankly ableist. Such a reduced walkway would effectively eliminate the possibility of inhabitants with mobility issues to fully and safely access their homes. This is unacceptable. Finally, a word on process. A few of us in the community have repeatedly communicated in writing and in person with staff to point out the repeated and numerous violations of the 1.2 meter requirement. We've seen the violations in a lot of homes. We have presented our case to staff regarding the folly of the proposed reduction of the 1.2 meter requirement, and it's very discouraging to have our entreaties not only be dismissed, but instead to undo the bylaw in order to sanction and institutionalize the violations that we pointed out. It would be like having speeding infractions pointed out by members of the community and the response by the city being to raise the speed limit so that the violators could continue to flaunt the law with impunity. It sends the wrong message and encourages further continued violations. The new zoning and bylaws need to ensure our communities grow safely as well as protect our environment. Zoning and bylaw also needs to protect our property values, not erode them, especially in our mature neighborhoods. This is our opportunity to do better. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your delegation. I have Councillor Keenan on the board. Councillor Keenan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and through you. Thank you. Yeah, stay, because thank you so much for your delegation. Some absolutely fantastic points. And, you know, when this council received that report, so big and massive in size, the chair obviously made a good decision for us to send it back and do a workshop. And through town halls and our residents, some that are here today, you know, going through it themselves and finding things in there, and this being one of major concern to myself and obviously a lot of the residents. I've had conversations with the commissioner. I've had conversations with staff. We've involved the fire department. We've been moving the needle on quite a few things on this. I'm not happy with the what's currently there or what's currently coming forward, and I've been chatting with the commissioner around what we can do and what we can put in place. I don't think going backwards is the right thing. I think we've been too long been doing things like that. We're letting little things go by, and it puts us in a predicament that we're in today. So definitely still going to be moving the needle on getting that back to the 1.2 meter. So I'm going to ask just the commissioner, if you don't mind, if you can kind of walk through kind of the steps that we've kind of gone through, where we're going with this, and what will, when a final bylaw comes back, the guarantee that we will be having in and around, if not the 1.2 meters, that from the edge of that window well to the property line, please.
Sure, if I could through you, Councillor Palashi, through to Councillor Keenan, certainly a couple of things I'd like to say. Since the council workshop and the ward pairing meetings, I've engaged the Commissioner of Community Services, who oversees our fire department, and we've been working on a process basically effective immediately now. Our fire staff will be reviewing any deviation under the current bylaw that we have that has the 0.55 meter encroachment to check for appropriateness for EMS access from the front to the rear yard, and the width of the from the edge of the window well to the property line. The report you have before you tonight is seeking just council's approval in principle, allowing time for input such as from the delegation tonight and letters that we've received. It's certainly staff's intention to take this tonight's delegation under consideration. I can't comment tonight on the exact performance standard that will be enshrined, but certainly something closer to the 1.2 meters will be coming back before council, and certainly would be happy to have further consultations with yourself and Councillor Medeiros, for instance, and any residents prior to that bylaw coming forward. I'll turn it over to David Vandenberg, who's actually leading the bylaw, in case he wants to add any more of the technical details.
Sure, and maybe, and through the chair, maybe I'll explain how we came up with the standard and the thinking that went in behind it. And first thing you would note, obviously, safety is a primary concern when we're crafting zoning regulations. So we did consult very carefully with our colleagues in fire and about their needs for emergency access. And one thing I would note is the standard that's being proposed, it's not really a change from the current interpretation of how zoning bylaw works. So zoning staff right now allows a 0.55 meter encroachment into the path of travel, and what we're simply doing is in this bylaw, and we can review and have more discussions about it, but we're making that explicit. So it's not really a change from what's the current practices. And in fact, there are many houses that are built with a window well that encroaches this distance into the path of travel, because this is zoning bylaw. This is zoning staff's current interpretation of the bylaw, so they've been approving these over the past, I'm not sure how long, but there's going to be lots of houses with a window well encroaching this distance. And we have consulted with fire staff on whether there have been any issues with that, and from our understanding, there hasn't been. So that's basically how we landed where we did. But as Commissioner Ganesh noted, we're happy to take this back in a further discussion and review it further. But it isn't necessarily a change from the current practice.
No.
Sorry, no. So
No.
Yeah. And I do appreciate the explanation, but I'm not sure where it came from when the residents said they were told they should or could jump over a window well. Obviously, that's not what we want, especially in an emergency, but even just for the ability to get into the backyard. So I will be happy to pass this in principle today with the guarantee that it's going to come back with that further setback on this, because it's definitely important. We can't be encroaching on the path of travel. We just can't be. It doesn't make sense. If there's a small chance that it needs to happen for whatever reason and it's a small encroachment, then sure. But to go and pass a bylaw that is gonna, where we should be looking at making it better instead of looking at it from a lens of this is how it was, we're not really changing it when we probably should be changing it, is kind of the lens I think we should be looking at it.
If I could, through the chair, through to Councilor Keenan, with the council's indulgence, this is a good example of where we certainly want to move the needle towards the 1.2 meters, simply because the province is passing legislation to give as of right permissions to side yard setbacks. So that as of right permission through Bill 17, I believe, only amplifies some of the safety concerns that the delegation and members of council have brought forward. So that's why I've taken upon myself to work with the Commissioner of Community Services and Fire to address that in the bylaw coming forward.
No, I appreciate that. So I'm good with that. I will be okay to support this, knowing that that will come back and we'll get what we need here. I do think there's a couple other items that we are currently discussing as well. So I'll be happy with that. And if that works for my residents, and I'm sure other residents in the city of Brampton, I think we'll all be good with seeing what comes back for the final adoption of the final bylaw. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you again for your
So, sorry,
delegation.
can you, you're approving this in principle
So
based off of what the comments were from the commissioner, but it's not going back out to public at all?
So just based on our conversation, so
No, I don't have to, it says it right in the motion, for it not to go to, for this to be the final public consultation. So, go down, please.
if that's the case, then I would have an issue with putting this forward to then today.
Down more? There it is, no further notice or public meeting be required. So.
Commissioner?
Through the chair, through to you, to the clerk and Councilor Keenan, that's when we say further notice or public meeting, that's the statutory public meeting, but that wouldn't prevent staff from having any meetings with members of the public or addressing correspondence that we had received tonight prior to the final zoning bylaw.
Okay, I'm okay with it.
Okay. Councilor Keenan, you moved the staff report?
Yep.
I don't have it in front of me, so as taken as read, along with the delegation from Gian Marcone, thank you very much, and all of the correspondence 1 to 26. All in favor? That carries. There is no general correspondence. Councilor question period. Any members have any questions that relate to anything on the agenda here tonight? Anybody online? Seeing none. Public question period. Any members of the public that would like to come down? And please, I'm talking slowly so you can start making your way down. Please come on down. Come on down. Please state your name for the record.
My name's Mike Aegis. Is more in regards to that 1.2 meter setback. I've been hearing a lot about that in my community. I live in like Ward 3. It's a mature area. We always hear gentle intensification. My area, unfortunately, is not that gentle of an intensification, where we have properties that have these massive window wells. And on paper, when you're looking at one property, you see this encroachment, this 0.55 encroachment of one property. And a fire marshal goes and they look at a property when it's being newly built, and they look at it and they say, yeah, that's adequate, that's safe, that's perfect. It gets approved, it goes through. What we're seeing though is we have houses now that are being converted into full rental units. I think that kind of goes, it's not gentle intensification when you have a basement apartment being built, a main floor being built, upper floor being built for rental, and then you have a garden suite being proposed a couple years later, and they have this encroachment approved. You can't even put a recycle bin through when you have that 0.55 extra large recycle bin is 0.74 meters. When your next door neighbor ends up doing the exact same thing, we see that a lot where you get one developer, they buy one property, they sometimes buy the neighboring property, they combine the driveways, we see it all over Peel Village. Well, they do the same thing. What we're seeing now, a lot of the housing crisis thing with all these students, a lot of the students are no longer here. A lot of these rental properties that were approved for the gentle intensification turned into like making these things, exploiting the problem that we had in Canada. So just make them rental units. What we were just seeing, like a lot of these weren't safe. With the fires that everybody's hearing of happening in Brampton, a couple of people dying in their house. The people in the basement, they can't get out. They have an egress. It's great that a fire marshal could look at a property and say this is adequate, but then when you got garbage bins put beside the house, you got tires, you got whatever that we often see from a lot of these rental properties. Let's face it, bylaw is overwhelmed with a lot of these rental properties with issues with parking. A lot of times we have cars barricading entry and access points going into the backyards of these houses, having like, say, that 1.2 meter unobstructed walkway is for safety. When a fire marshal comes in and possibly inspects a property, it might have it then, but when you get all these other properties building beside, you got the garbage there, you got everything that happens when you have high capacity rental properties happening from these residential properties, it poses a big problem. I unfortunately have to live through that every day. A lot of people in my community live through that every day. I'm constantly emailing our counselors. A lot of people in my community are elderly. They'll come up to me to voice to our counselors and other counselors in different wards to have these issues brought up, and they feel they're not heard, right? Because it just keeps happening. It's like, how many more fires, how many more deaths do we need to say, oh, I know this is the standard, and it's been what's kind of working, and it hasn't posed a threat. You know what? 10 years ago, fire marshals could have said, yeah, 11 people or 15 or 20 people in a house could have been safe. As we're seeing today, it's not really a great idea to over-intensify these properties that weren't designed to be built that way. I seen these vacant lands. I was like, wow, I didn't realize Brampton approves these awesome neighborhoods to be built on these vacant parcels of land. I thought for a while, Brampton's thing was just to plop 4 units on a golf course in a mature neighborhood. And I was thinking, like, this is madness. Why do we need this high intensity to happen and high problems? Like, we have an extra $2.5 million of bylaw that went into bylaw to help them. They're still overwhelmed. If you look at the bylaw reports, it's not getting better. So that's just kind of what I wanted to say there. Thank you for listening to me.
Thank you for your delegation. 8 minutes, 40 seconds left, sorry? Yep. Oh, I forgot his questions. Your question is?
Okay, so a few comments, questions kind of rolled into one.
So I gotta let you, yeah. Go ahead.
I'm glad you listened to him because he doesn't get that at home. So Just in terms of the 1.2 meter setback, just to clarify, currently it's 1.2 from the outer edge of the house to the property. Having encroachments on that we don't need a race to the bottom, let's make things safer. That's the comment there. We also heard tonight from people that were saying that they haven't heard or gotten any notifications. If you look at some of those developments, if you go out 120 meters, some communities aren't being notified, so I would echo those comments. The other thing is, I've been here before
We're
on
240 meters.
240 meters.
We doubled the.
Yeah, but if you
planning
look
act.
around on the development, it goes out to a parking lot or wherever it is.
Yeah,
were
but we
looking
go
on
out
Google Maps.
240 from all the.
Yeah, people, yeah. I think people are getting missed because just like with the whole planning and then the Brampton plan happened completely under my nose. I didn't see or hear notifications. So, that's another example. But in terms of the planning new document that's coming out, I've been before at a planning meeting, and in that meeting, we discussed having a Coles Notes version because getting public feedback I don't think was done at a way that actually was conducive. And then when we actually went, I echo John's comments about the process and the pushback that we had from staff on it, because we did try and we did echo or try and articulate why we needed this and to get pushback while you can jump over. Like, it was just mind-blowing, the whole experience, to be honest with you. And part of this whole process, I said, how are you making this consumable for the average resident? This is the 173 pages that I spent $33 printing out. We've asked, and it was suggested that we were going to get a summary for residents to have this consumable and be able to understand it a little bit more. That never came, despite my follow-ups and my questions. So my question is, will that ever come? Or are you just going to pass this and let it go through its normal cycles? Because I'm feeling very unheard as a resident from going to the same meetings that John was at, asking for this and trying to get people interested in what's happening as Brampton does grow. So just my comment.
The summary?
Through the chair, staff always prepare sort of a public-facing type of document once the final product is brought before council for ratification. So we are in the process of doing that. That will be appended with the final report and bylaw.
So the summary is still coming for the.
That's right. The bylaw that was brought forth to planning committee tonight had to be the more comprehensive document because we were asking for approval in principle of that comprehensive document.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead, Councillor Key. No, we have another delegation. This isn't your time. It's, sorry. You're done. Ask your question at council. Come on.
Hello, my name is Sylvia Roberts.
Sylvia, question, okay?
Sure. Okay, so in the official plan, it says that we are supposed to encourage both missing middle and low-rise apartments. And in every version I have seen, while it says that the city is required to encourage that, I've not seen a zoning category that actually allows both, which means regardless of which category you put it in, it is excluded from one of the things that the official plan says you have to encourage. How can you simultaneously ban something and encourage something? Logically, that doesn't make any sense at all to me, because the zoning category is rather the missing middle or low-rise apartments. There isn't one that allows both. And then the other thing is the HAF agreement talks about a 4-story building, but if your height limit is 30 feet-ish, how do you build a 4-story building that's 3 stories in height? That doesn't make that much sense to me logically, how we could do that. So I'm just wondering, will those be in the stuff that comes forward to council that fixes those issues? And when, like Q1, Q2, any estimates of when?
David? Stephen? Matthew?
Through the chair, David, go ahead if you want to take a stab at the questions. If I understand the questions, the first was, do we have a zoning category solely to address the missing middle? And I would argue that in the zoning bylaw that was brought before council tonight, there are zones that allow for housing types for the missing middle. So that's already been done in my mind. And that can certainly be explained in the compendium document that comes before council with the final bylaw. Sylvia, if I could ask you to repeat your second question, please.
Oh, the second one was on when it might come forward, like a quarter would be nice.
David, go ahead.
Yeah, through the chair, we are targeting bringing it forward in Q1 2026.
Q1 next year.
Yep.
Thanks, sorry. Next, please state your name for the record.
Sorry, just a clarification. My name is Hubert Brard Smith. So, just for my understanding, a Coles Notes version of, let's say, the bylaw policy is going to be offered after it's been ratified. We're asking for it beforehand. We're asking for it beforehand so we can understand what's happening, so we can bring it forward, so that we can then amend it, change it, learn about it before ratification. Can you please outline the timeline there?
Sure. So through the chair, through the delegate, as David indicated, the final bylaw will be coming forth in Q1. As we always do, materials printed and available to the public in advance of, I think, about 2 weeks or so. At that 2-week marker, or before, if possible, the user-friendly public Coles Notes version, as coined tonight, will be available for public review and any discussion or delegation of council at that time.
And how do we gain access to this Coles Notes review 2 weeks prior?
Is it safe to say everybody that's here today asking questions that we've documented your names is going to get that?
Through the chair, exactly that. And in addition, we've done social media about the comprehensive zoning bylaw. We can add the same links to up in that.
Or reach out to your counselors.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your delegation. Hi, welcome. You have 1 minute, 30 seconds.
I'm on the clock.
Yeah.
I heard a lot about the 1.2 and the fire department and making decisions. It seems to me fire people probably got better things to do than try to assess the safety of 1 foot or 2 feet. It seems like not a very rational decision. But more importantly, we're talking about basic accessibility. You know, jumping over can't be done for how many people? This province, this country has moved light years to increase and improve accessibility. The question about the fire department and the safety is important, but the overriding piece here, you can't travel around your own house. I don't understand why we're even having this debate. Those are core values that we're spending hundreds of millions of dollars in this province upgrading the accessibility, and we're going to put a fire marshal in charge of a decision so that somebody can't get through to their property? I think you should reflect on that. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your delegation. That's all we have for today. We have no closed session. We'll move adjournment. Been moved by Councillor Brar. Our next regular scheduled meeting is now, no, we have nothing pending for Monday, December 15th. So we're looking to not have that meeting take place. I'll make that decision after staff provide me with more of what was heading for that meeting to ensure. But then after that, our next meeting will be sometime in January. Have a great New Year, everybody. Merry Christmas. It's been moved by Councillor Brar. All in favor?